G'day everyone and welcome to the Big Bros podcast. My name is Jeremy. Welcome if it's your first time joining us on the show. I'm joined by my lovely friend and co-host Ilan, but most importantly, we're joined today by the man of many talents on the court, on the stage, and most importantly off it as well. Elliot Loney, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me, boys. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here, and what a lovely home you have.
It's
Fantastic. Lovely studio.
Very nice of you. Thank you, mate. And the pleasure is all ours, mate, because Ilan and I were talking off air before about our earliest memories of you, and that goes back, a fair way to the prestigious 9As with Mr. Parker times, and a voice that maybe a lot of your current listeners might not know. Talk to us about the origin of that period for you, because that's going back 10 years ago now.
When it promotes me. Yeah, Mr. Parker. Oh man, that was a hell of a thing. That was like so much. What's the word for it? I guess you could say just like so much buzz. It really had very much a cult following, I felt, and it was really like a surreal moment. Just seeing like how many people kind of got around it, and it really I don't know. You guys were you in year 9 at the time?
Year 10 at the time. I
remember,
yeah. Like
2016,
like March 2016, April 2016.
So relatable though. Relatable, even as a year 10 bloke. I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Footy, boys.
Yeah.
Cold June days. You recorded at EE Gun Reserve. I think a lot of the videos.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's like close. Yeah. Well, this is the thing as well. Like, it's so weird because I had so many people tell me, and still to this day, who are like your age or even older or younger, they'll be like, mate, I remember in school we would constantly quote Mr. Parker and scream things out at lunchtime, and I'd just be like, mate, that's nuts. Like, I just found that to be crazy. But I remember back in the day too, like I would be getting Snapchats constantly from blokes just doing the filter. And it was just like, send me yours. And they'd just do these Mr. Parker. And it was just funny as.
I think half my Snapchat streaks was taking the filter of Gavin, because I remember Gavin being one of the characters.
You look a bit like Gavin, actually.
Oh, do I? Do I have his personality traits, you reckon, too?
The stats guy.
The stats guy.
The round head. There was the round headed.
I can't do the impression. I'm not going to even
You
try.
look nothing like Gavin.
That's all right. I wouldn't mind being the stats guy. But did you expect it to blow up as much as it did at the time? Because I think it captured something in that boys' culture, in that locker room culture that you see in between the grades 8, year 8 to 12, like really boys culture. Did you notice, or did you expect it to blow up as much as it did?
Well, I think it definitely resonated with that demographic, and obviously at the time I could see my social media analytics, and I knew that it was mostly a male audience because it was men's sport and mostly private school sport. But that wasn't always like my intention. Like, I guess that was just contemporary with the times. You know, you think about it, like that was at that stage, I think 2015, 2016 sort of odd. That was like, he's fine, mate.
I'm just reminiscing, mate.
This guy's just thinking about Mr. Parker. He's like,
I miss him.
Those are the days, mate.
You're just thinking of Mr. Parker flicking his tongue around.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's classic. No, you're funny as. I love you lads. You're hilarious. But I think like I've had this conversation with someone recently. Actually, I think if I was to revisit the 9As now. For example, like my current partner, Holly, she's an amazing footballer. She's playing in the VAFA and she's doing a great job and she's a gun. And I've been going to all of her games and watching the women go about their footy and it's so interesting because I'm getting so much inspiration for the 9As. And like, obviously back in the day when I made the prestigious 9As, it was all about men's footy, but now women's footy has been like surging and it's great to see. And God, it's entertaining, and just seeing like all the characters, and some of these girls are unbelievable. Like I watch Holly play and I go, far out, I wouldn't want to play on her. Like she would destroy me. So, I think to answer your question, like, yes, at the time, I think it did resonate with like a young male audience. But now I think if I was to do it again, I could incorporate the women's side of footy too. And I think it would actually resonate with men and women equally, especially considering the rise of the AFLW.
For sure. And when you started doing impressions, at what age did you realise, gee, I'm pretty good at this?
Gee, probably right around the time I realised I was autistic. That's a self-diagnosis. But I mean, honestly, I was an only child, so I was constantly left to my own devices. So a lot of the time, like, my parents would recount me just talking to myself incessantly in my room, doing a whole bunch of voices. That's me doing the bird sound, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you picked that up.
Man of many talents.
I'm also a ventriloquist, so I should pick that up. Talking out of my ass, both ends. But anyway, like, that's sort of how I went about it. So I would sit there in my room and just like talk and come up with these strange like characters and narratives to keep myself entertained. And then I think I sort of realised I had a knack for it like early on in primary school. Like I'd do voices and the kids would crack up and I'd be like, oh, this is something that not everyone does. This is pretty crook. It's pretty rare.
So yeah. That early primary school.
Yep. I remember doing impersonations of teachers and friends in primary school. Yeah.
Wow. And so then in the process of impersonations, is there a process or does it come naturally? Do you study? Do you watch videos? How does it come about?
Yeah, look, like it's obviously, it is a study. I'll sit down there and some of them come straight. I've always felt like I've got a pretty good ear. Like I actually came from like a musical background. As a kid, I sang a lot and I was like, I had a really, really good voice until my balls dropped, until I hit puberty. And then, things took a turn for the worse. But look, like I was very musical, so I always had a very good ear, and I had a good tone with my voice and stuff like that. And I think like that probably carried over. So I do still have a good ear for voices and sounds. So most of the time I'm able to pick it up by ear. But if I'm able to sit with a video and study it, then I can really finesse it and like sort of fine tune it.
Wow. Yeah. So then, primary school is when it started.
Yeah.
When did you first notice that this was maybe something that you wanted to pursue a bit more? Because a lot of our audience are within that 20 to 35-year-old age demographic and going through a bit of uncertainty as well at times. Do we go down this pathway? Do we follow a passion? What was it like for you in terms of whether you followed that passion or did something a bit more serious, for lack of better words?
Yeah. Good question, mate. I mean, like, I think it's honestly, for me, I was probably only about, when I say only, 23, 24 when I made that distinctional call. Because before that, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I still don't really. But I was, I guess you could say, just like a lot of people, like a lot of your listeners, probably thinking to myself, oh, what's my next step? What do I do? Like, do I go back and study? Do I, and I didn't really know what to do. But it was only when I made the video Man vs. Metro, which was a parody of Bear Grylls, impersonate Bear Grylls in the city, that set the tone and changed everything for me. I was always the class clown at school. Like, I'd use gags, impressions, like jokes as a means of social currency to make friends. And I was always the funny guy, like, that's Elliot. He's just, But as I sort of got older, I never ever considered I'd do stand-up comedy. Like, I remember being a kid at school and think, far out, how brave is that? It's scary as. I'd never do that. But only when I made that video and it went viral did I then go, okay, I can probably see myself doing this. It's the natural progression forward. I can't just make a viral, funny video and not do stand-up. Then I'm a hack. That's the way I thought, So, yeah.
Did you ever feel that by being the funny guy, you put pressure on yourself to always kind of conform to that standard, to always be known as the individual that someone can, to make other people laugh? And there was any pressures that came along with that?
Yeah, I mean, not really, because I feel like I'm just being true to myself. I mean, everyone's got their strengths, everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. And for as long as I can remember, I realised and recognised the power of humour and the power of, and it made me feel good too. Like, it was so crazy knowing that just even with my mates, like, I could change their day, like if they were having a shit time or something, I could pick up on it and be like, all right, I'm going to fucking go in there. I'm going to do something stupid and I'm going to make this guy laugh. And that's what I did. And like, if you asked any of the people that I went to school with in my formative years, primary school, middle school, senior school, they would all tell you the same thing. Like, Elliot hasn't changed. Like, I was always the class clown and I was always the funny guy. And it's just something that's always made me feel good. And I don't like seeing people upset. So if I can like give them a few gags and lift their spirits, then it's awesome. It's powerful.
Thing.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's the best thing. Humour, I think, is that personality trait that, unfortunately, I reckon we've lost a bit of it in the modern day.
Yeah.
Which leads me to ask, has comedy changed since the prestigious 9As? That was 2016.
Yeah.
Has it changed from now till 2026 across this 10-year span?
Yeah, interestingly, we were speaking a little bit about this off mic, not this exact question, but I do feel like it tends to swing in roundabouts a little bit. Like, obviously, we're talking about politics now. Like, things tend to, change the guard after a while, and they sort of spin around in a roundabout, as I just specified. But with comedy, yeah, I think it's got to a point where I feel like, and this is just like my personal observation, that people are sort of sick of being told what to think, how to think, what to say, when to say it. And so because of that, I think people are now looking to people who are like the gatekeepers of freedom of speech, which are comedians, and going like, go on, like, make us laugh. We want to see some loose shit because we're being told in our everyday lives that we can't say this stuff. We're paying money to see you say the crookest shit possible.
Absolutely.
And I'm getting that a bit more now. Like, I remember probably around that time, the Mr. Parker time, was when like a lot of the woke stuff started to really hit its peak, especially like in America. And then it's obviously come down to the Southern Hemisphere here. And I feel like now it's almost swinging the other way. Like, I go to comedy shows and they're like, oh man, I wanted you to go harder there. Like, I was hoping you'd go there, like they're almost like really wanting that release because people are so tense all the time. They want that jester to be like, I'm here to take the piss for an hour and I'm going to say the most fuck thing possible. But you already know that I'm going to say the most fuck thing. But that's my job. Yeah. And I had this conversation with someone the other day. It's like when you watch a movie, very rarely will you see people take or hold that person responsible for the roles they play in a movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if Leonardo DiCaprio plays an evil man in, say, Django or something, you don't then see him in the street and go, he's that evil man. That he's playing a character. I feel the same way when I'm on stage. And so I'm playing a character.
Do you ever find that you hold yourself back from saying what you really want in fear of getting cancelled?
I have, but that fear is increasingly diminishing, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because I think I've reached a point where I feel like there's a huge momentum shift happening, and I think people are waking up and not necessarily like becoming extremists in one way or the other. I think they're just forming collectively a more common sense view. Like, people are starting to look at the world and go, yeah, right, okay, well, maybe this is a bit crook. Maybe I should be able to feel like I have the freedom to express myself the way that I want to express myself, especially as a comedian.
And take the piss a little bit more.
Yeah, like, especially as a comedian. Like, mate, I'm going on stage and people genuinely think that I hold the views that I'm pontificating in a comedy skit or like on a stage. I'm like, bro, I'm an actor. Like, yeah. I'm on stage doing a performance. I'm taking the piss. This isn't me. Talk to me off stage. I'm completely different, so...
And when you feel like there is that shift happening, is that shift you speak about just from the perspective of the audience or also from the perspective of the creators, the comedians themselves? And with that, is it also a shift happening within the more leftist community as well? Do you feel like they're also maybe shifting and maybe loosening up a little bit more?
Potentially. I mean, it's a tough question to answer. It's a great question, don't get me wrong, but I think it's probably more of like, I feel like a contemporary, almost like an understanding moment that's happening at this present time. It's almost like everyone's kind of going, hang on a second, like, yeah, like, as I said, this common sense is like trickling into people's minds, being like, maybe we shouldn't try to cancel a comedian for saying a joke that a small minority of people disagree with. Like, why would we do that? Like, again, I bring it back to my point that I raised before. You wouldn't cancel an actor for playing a horrible person in a movie if their pursuit is to portray that character the best way that they can. Like, most of the comedians that I know who say really crook things on stage are some of the best people I've ever met. They have the best values. They're the best friends. They're so kind, and they're like, they couldn't be. And it's the people that hold them to account that are like the most intolerant, most outrageous people. It's almost you can never judge a book by its cover.
I think Australians are also fed up because a core tenet of who we are is taking the piss out of not just our friends but ourselves as well. And I think when that's lost, society starts, at least in Australia, that starts to engender like a fight back. And I noticed that as soon as you impersonated Abby Chatfield's boyfriend, and that's what I'm going to be referring to him as.
It is disappointing because I don't want to go too deeply into this, but I think it would be fantastic if someone like him, who's a very successful musician in his own right, he's done a lot. He's had a huge success with Peking Duck. He's had obviously a lot of success in his solo career. To see sort of the way that the skits landed with him and obviously his partner is disappointing for me, because I'd love for them to embrace it. I'd love for them to understand that I'm a very different person to the person who does the impersonations and the skits. And I know that if I met him face to face and was able to have a conversation, just me and him in a room where we're having a discussion, I reckon he'd come away from that being like, oh, this guy's not sort of who I sort of interpret him to be as, or Abby interpret him to be as, you know, like I'm pretty easygoing and like quite, I like to think like measured in a lot of my views and stuff like that. And I'm not intolerant either. Like even if we had different views, like I'd hear him out and I'd never criticize him for having different views to me. That's just not how I go about things. So it's a shame, because I think together, like if he were to embrace it, God, we could make some funny shit.
Absolutely.
And I do think as well that Australians, as you just mentioned, like we like to see people who can take the piss, and more importantly, take the piss out of themselves. So I think us as Australians seeing him take the piss out of himself with someone like me, they'd be like, this guy is an absolute legend.
Yeah.
You know, it's the people that sort of try to position themselves, whether they do it consciously or subconsciously, above the humour, that people just even on a subconscious level go, fuck this guy, you know? And it could be anyone, but that's why like I'm always the first person to take the piss out of myself, or like if someone does an impersonation of me, I'm like losing my shit because I think it's so funny. Like I'm like, this is great. Like, fuck yeah. Like, give it to me, mate. You know?
Well, exactly. You're spot on there. We love it when people take the piss out of themselves more than anything, and it's a powerful move, isn't it? If people historically maybe don't like you, or you feel like you're kind of that double-edged sword kind of character, but then you are a little bit more self-deprecating, it's just the Australian way that they'll jump on board and probably love you more for it.
And even in stand-up, like I've been around like the comedy scene for a long time, like on and off, because I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with specifically the stand-up arm of it. But like when I go on stage, or when I see other comedians go on stage and immediately take the piss out of themselves, it eases the tension in the room immediately. Like people go, oh, all right, this guy's taking the piss out of himself. He's all right. Like, you know, let's get around this guy. Like, it's just the way it is.
You're more human again, aren't you?
Yeah, you humanise yourself, and then you tell the audience, even if it's not like a blatant way of telling them, like, oh, listen, I'm all right. Yeah. Like, I'll dress the elephant in the room. Like, I can take the piss out of myself. I'll wear it, and it's cool. I'm that guy, and everyone goes, yeah, I like this person.
Have you heard of the yogurt lid analogy?
No.
I heard this on a Chris Williamson podcast, and I think it was in reference to maybe Jordan Peterson, a very famous clinical psychologist, and it was the moment of Chris witnessing Jordan open up a yogurt and just lick the lid of the yogurt lid. And it's such a weird thing to draw some profound knowledge from, but the simple message was, here's a guy who is, you know, a pretty crafty guy in his realm of practice, and he's licking a yogurt lid just like us normal humans would ourselves. And so the same goes, I guess, for comedy. You just getting up on stage, taking the piss out of yourself, maybe making a mistake here and there. People like that. People can relate to you a little bit more.
Yeah, it's raw. It's human. Like, everyone makes mistakes. It's how you bounce back and how you respond to those mistakes that people can kind of relate to. Like, you know, I've had some great triumphs in my life and some big failures too, but I'll admit and own every single one of them. But you'll never see me own up to a mistake that, you know, wasn't on me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always the first person to take accountability for things that I've done wrong, but I'll never ever like own up to things that I have. But I'm the first person to be like, yep, that was on me, my bad.
What have you learnt through the process of stand-up and comedy about yourself?
Well, that's another interesting question, a good question. Like, I think I've said this many times, like I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with stand-up, because it's not my favorite thing about comedy. I feel like I have a lot of natural attributes that lend themselves well to that part of comedy, but I don't love it. Like I don't love it like a lot of like other comedians who would be sitting backstage like itching to get on stage. You know, I see it in their eyes. Like I prefer, exactly like we discussed earlier, like creating something like the prestigious 9As, creating all these original characters, building the story world around it. I feel like I see myself, if I was to liken myself to someone, and I'm not saying I'm likening myself to someone because this person has reached the zenith of success, but just in terms of creativity, like a Seth MacFarlane or a Matt Groening, who's created a vehicle that they then attach their brand to, which becomes like the basis of their career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's more me. Like I'm not like a Chris Rock or a Jerry Seinfeld's not the greatest example, or like a Louis C.K., who's like a great comedian, you know, like a fantastic stand-up comedian. I feel like I'm more of a creative who does stand up, if that makes sense.
Matt Groening, he's creator of Simpsons.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Memories, seeing his name flash up on the screen.
Yeah.
But one of those people where I've never put the face to the name.
Yeah.
You see that name all the time.
Yeah.
But there you go. It makes sense. Creating characters, creating different personalities, and building a story.
Yeah.
So is that something that you strive to do?
Absolutely. Like, even though you mentioned the 9As earlier, I've been thinking about it a lot, particularly watching my partner play footy, women's footy, and being so engrossed in women's footy like I am at the moment. I've really enjoyed it, and it's great to see how far it's come. And like, you know, that's the kind of progression that I'm like really behind. Like, I'm like, this is great. Like, hell yeah. Like, it'd be great to see, and it's growing, you know? So I think if I was to do the 9As again today, I've got a whole new audience of women who are now playing footy who would be like, that's a potential audience that I could cultivate too.
Absolutely.
So it changes things, and it's really good to see that. So yeah, creating the 9As right now again, or like sort of revisiting that and pivoting, I think could be huge. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to see it on my. Will you be posting it on Facebook like the good old days?
Yeah, probably not these days.
And
Yeah,
Snapchat, with the Snapchat filter.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about some of the characters you've impersonated. So whether it be Pauline, Hanson, Tony Abbott, the tennis sphere, Nick Kyrgios, Rafael Nadal, what is it about them or these sort of characters that are so attractive to impersonate? What do you sense it is about that sort of individual?
I think honestly, most of it, it's like, so with the tennis stuff, I love my tennis. Like I grew up playing, it's my favorite thing in the world. You know, the first thing I ever fell in love with was tennis. So for me, impersonating tennis players was second nature because I was watching them all the time. So I'd watch their press conferences, I'd watch the matches. And so like for me, it's like, oh, tennis, great. Like I want to do that because I love Nadal, or I love Novak, or I love Kyrgios, and I'm going to impersonate these guys. So for that's that sense of it. But the other side, it's probably just whatever's topical, whatever's current, you know. That's why I did the Abby's boyfriend stuff, because I'm like, this guy's everywhere. He's everywhere. Like it's so topical. And so that's why, like, when I filmed that video and I put it up, I almost knew, sometimes you know. And it was the same thing when I did the Bear Grylls stuff years ago in 2013 or 2014, whenever I first uploaded Man vs Metro. I can't remember exact year. I put it up, and because Bear was like everywhere at the moment, I was watching his show on SBS every week, and all my mates watched it too. I'm like, this is going to go nuts. Yeah. I had a feeling. I'm like, I didn't think it was going to go as nuts as it did, don't get me wrong, but I knew, I was like, this is going to go nuts. And felt the same thing with the Abby's boyfriend stuff. I'm like, this is going to go nuts. This guy is on my algorithm, and all my mates are saying the same thing. He's everywhere. So this is going to go nuts.
For all the love that you do get through your impersonations, have you ever had someone that you've impersonated personally reach out to you and say, I did not appreciate that?
No.
That's great.
Not once. Yeah. I mean, obviously I've noticed that people might be dissatisfied. Like I might get a cold reaction in person, and I'm not going to say who, or like they might say something or create a video online, like, and I can sort of read into it and see that they didn't appreciate it. But no one's ever said like, hey, fuck you for doing this impersonation. Like, stop it. No one's ever done that.
Which is an awesome testament to those people that you do impersonations
Absolutely.
of.
Well, in fact, sorry to cut you off, but like, you know, Novak Djokovic has reached out to me on Instagram, and I did that impersonation with Novak on Rod Laver Arena 2023. Yes. So I did that with Novak. Novak was fine with it. He's a huge star.
Yeah.
Bear Grylls, same. Matthew McConaughey shared my impersonation of him. So those are three huge names who you'd think would have every right to have big egos are just like, this is fucking awesome. You know, that's probably why they're so successful, because they're so down to earth.
What's that like for you when you have all these big names resharing your impersonations of them?
Oh, it's awesome, man. Like it's unbelievable. Like I never would have thought that would be something that could happen, but it just goes to show that, you know, these people are very down to earth, as you say. Like it's so good to see people who, like, obviously I idolize, being so like, hey, I'm just take my fame away. I'm just like you. Like I'm just a normal, like laid back, cool guy. Like it almost like brings me back to the schoolyard at school.
Yeah.
When you're impersonating your mates, it's no different.
And it probably gives you a lot of freedom now to be like, you know what, this character, I'm going to do him as well, because the reaction has always been pretty good and there's not really ever been any blowback.
Pretty much. The only blowback that I received was via TikTok from like very young, impressionable people who were swayed by some of the dissatisfaction around some of the Abby boyfriend skits. But aside from that, never had any blowback in my entire career, which is, you know, it's quite some time now. So,
and is there a specific character that you love impersonating the most?
Usually it's whoever is getting the most laughs at the time becomes my favourite. So that's the answer to that one.
And it's funny how it always kind of has a full circle moment around Tennessee. Because the amount of like Today Show and Sunrise shows that you've done with the Rafa impersonations and there has been ones where you go head to head with Tom. I see you doing it, and other people on the. Is it Tom Cullen or someone on the Today Show?
Alex Cullen.
Alex, sorry. Doing head to head ones.
Yep.
Do people try to do head to heads with you often?
Like for some reason. Sorry, my Garmin's gone ballistic. I have a cardiac arrest. My heart rate's gone crazy. I think like on those morning shows, they tend to do it because it's just a good way of leading it in. You know, like obviously they're doing a TV schedule, so it's a bit different to like a podcast or, you know, something that's like not live to air. But on the live to air stuff, sometimes they do, and they'll just do it to just like fill time, and then over to you. You know.
Fantastic. And a lot of the work that you do reminds me of Matt Friend.
Oh yeah,
you know Matt Friend in America?
Yeah.
He's bloody huge now with his.
He's got massive,
massive.
Yeah.
There's no reason why there's not room for something like that in your space as well.
In fact, he's actually done extremely well. I think he did something on SNL or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but it's funny. I messaged him a long time ago. We had a little bit of beef. Well, not really. I'm not going to say beef, but I noticed that he was doing the impersonations of Nadal, and in all of my impersonations, I add a signature. So like, I've never seen Nadal go, you know, but I was the only one doing it. And then I saw him do a video like a day after I uploaded a video of Nadal going, and I said, mate, like that. And I got all these people sending me the video being like, this guy's blatantly ripped off your stuff. And I sent him a message and I said, bro, like, come on, dude. Like, yeah. And he seen it, and then he's never done it since.
Oh, there you go. So you got through. You got through. Yeah.
So, we never actually spoke, but I know that he acknowledged it because, to his credit, which I actually very much respect, he actually was like, okay, you know, because I would do the same. Like if a comedian messaged you, it's like a massive no-no to like steal a comedian's material or do a joke or take something that comedian has already done. Yeah. I think the next generation with TikTokers and stuff, like they're used to plagiarism because it's all about miming and stitching and doing trends.
That's right.
But I come from a different era where it's like, especially in live stage, where it's like you don't steal someone's shit. It's just not. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the content nowadays, do you feel like you've had to adapt to Gen Z type of content, or are you very much firm in the belief of stick to the raw stuff, stick to the authentic stuff that you've always known, that you've always been good at? Because like you said, there's almost a bit of a cycle that wants to come back to that original stuff now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's another. God, you boys are just ripping out like insane question after question. These questions are insane. How insightful are you guys? What are we talking about?
We try to be.
We got a couple of 99.95 ATARs here.
What
are we dealing with here? Jesus.
What ATAR did you get?
90s, but not as hard.
Oh, there you go. See, I've identified this. Look, I actually don't even know how to answer that question, to be perfectly honest with you. That's a ripper.
Well, because I guess with content that we've seen when it comes to, I guess, the world of podcasting, we think of creators like Michael Smoke, Higher Up Wellness, Chris Williamson, someone we always reference from the world of podcasting. it seems like the love for a lot of creators these days are like the less cinematic stuff, the more raw stuff, the more face-to-face stuff, the stuff where it might just be you chucking on an outfit, putting on a wig, and just doing like an old school kind of skit versus like a big cinematic production. At least that's how we feel in the world of media nowadays.
It's it is a lot more on the fly, I feel like. Like the risk for reward back in the day, maybe when I first started, was like you would get traction if you put money and effort and time into a video. Like if you really put that graft in, you'd usually get the reward if it was obviously well written and good content too. But these days, that's no guarantee. It's almost like face to camera, dirty on the fly is the stuff that gets the reward. And also, which is crazy, on TikTok and Instagram, I'm seeing the people that are going super viral at the moment, and it might be an algorithmic thing, or it could just be like a sign of the times, but political commentators, whether they be left-leaning or right-leaning, just speaking to a camera, and they're all going viral.
Like shout out Callista.
Yeah, Callista, yeah. So, that kind of stuff's just gone ballistic. Ballistic.
I think it speaks to one thing, and that's that young people always benefit from not just being literate, but being able to articulate themselves in a very effective way.
Yeah.
And I think whether that's through the realm of comedy, because when you're essentially doing these skits, you're someone who may overcomplicate the interpretation of a skit will say that you're speaking to the complexities of the current political climate. Someone else might just say that's giving them a laugh, but you're doing something at both ends.
Yeah.
I think that for a lot of young people, because we speak about this a lot, we always talk about not overcomplicating the path ahead, but picking something and just kind of going balls deep in that realm.
Yeah.
And I think that with the TikTok generation, with the current attention currency, a lot of people don't really commit. They kind of overcomplicate it. We see in some of our own friends who kind of want to start posting content, but they don't.
Yeah.
But something that I've also noticed with young people especially, and maybe this has always been a thing, and I want to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea of not attaching your self-worth to the attention you get on social media and the positive traction. Given that you've performed on stage and you've also done skits and you've exposed yourself to that landscape, what's it been like not totally attaching who you are, your self-worth, whether you think you're a good or bad person, based on the amount of positive traction you get?
Yeah, far out. Another 99.95 ATAR question.
Look, we're not that smart.
No, look, I think it goes down to obviously this next generation. See, the thing is, it's hard for me to answer that question. I didn't grow up with this. I was one of the final generations, my millennial generation, and when I was in high school, I still had a Nokia. When I graduated.
The bricks.
Yeah, the bricks, the Nokia 3310. So I didn't grow up with social media in high school. In fact, the only social media that we had was MySpace and stuff like that. That's way back. So it's really interesting because I often think, and I try to put myself, objectively speaking, into younger people's shoes a lot of the time, especially people that I know, like my mates, younger siblings and stuff, and think, wow, like that would be crazy growing up with social media now. And what I think, and this is just my own observation, people are either overly concerned by what people think or they don't give a fuck. There's no in between. Like a lot of the people I think that get the carrot or get the reward are these social media people that I see on Instagram now, who they don't even care if the content's good or not. They're just consistent. They're like, I don't give a fuck what people say. I'm just going to post it.
That's a great point.
And I'm going to post every single day. And I don't care what anyone says. And they seem to be the ones to get the reward. Bear Grylls famously said, you risk nothing, you gain nothing. And it's true in everything. But it's funny because that being said, you've got the other flip side of the coin, and it's people that are literally too petrified to even make a move.
You can't be a fence sitter today.
Can't be a fence sitter today.
Yeah, you got to have something different. And we had another comedian, a bit more of a modern comedian on recently, Gene Efron. He's known as Tall and Curly on Instagram. You might have seen a lot of his breaking news kind of skits. Tall bloke, curly hair.
I haven't. Nah.
He's a funny fella,
yeah.
And we spoke a lot about choosing the pathways, the pathway to go down comedy versus the pathway to stick to a bit more of a like a traditional pathway, a secure based pathway, which we touched on earlier.
Is he a stand-up as well, or just a skit guy?
He was a
skit guy.
He was a previous psychologist. And
that's cool.
Then he started making social media content.
Nice.
And it blew up, and he was able to pursue that full time.
Oh, good on him.
But it was very much similar to, I guess, the stuff that you do, making characters, making skits and forming it that way. And he actually spoke about how he feels like the whole chase your passion only and follow the passion only from the get-go might be a bit of like an overrated thing. He thinks having some form of security is important. Do you agree or do you disagree in the line of comedy? Because
well, I think that's very wise, and that's obviously showing his psychology background if he's saying stuff like that. I mean, most people would say you should have a fallback.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I think if you're dogged enough and you're determined enough and you do what I specified earlier, which is what a lot of these young people are doing, and like don't take no for an answer, relentlessly post. It's been done. Yeah. It's constantly being done. Yeah. It just depends, I think, and how bad you want it. If you're willing to just be a psychopath, like if you take that David Goggins mentality and just apply it to social media and how like sort of determined you are, you can. Yeah. You almost can't afford to have a plan B in that situation.
Did you have a fallback?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, most people would say you should have a fallback, but by virtue of graduating high school, everyone has a fallback. You know what I mean? Even if you become a personal trainer or like in my case, like tennis coaching or anything like that, you've got something that you can fall back on. And most people, just by virtue of osmosis, will have a fallback option. You don't have to be like, I don't know this bloke, but, a psychologist, that's a great fallback option. Like, obviously, he's a smart guy and he can go back and do psychology. But, there's different spectrums to it. But by virtue of just being a human being, unless you're a druggie and a droppy, you're going to have a fallback.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a fallback.
And I mean, 15 years on, is your fire in the belly still as strong as what it always was, or does it wax and wane?
It ebbs and flows. Yeah. It ebbs and flows. Like sometimes yes, other times no. That can be like things that are happening in your personal life, private matters. It can be like, like imposter syndrome or like your own mental demons. Like it can be a whole myriad of things, but it's more just like sort of how you bounce back, I think, which defines your character.
How do you get through those tough times, especially the imposter syndrome?
Oh, you just got to lean on people, I think, especially as blokes, mate. Like, a lot of guys are sort of get on with it, like just shoulder it, get on with it. And that's sort of like how I was raised as well. But I think like now it's probably something that I've observed that I'm quite sort of pleased to see is like a lot of guys being a lot more candid about how they're feeling and talking to their mates, leaning on their mates. Very important. Yeah. Just to have someone to talk to, someone that you can trust. It goes a long way.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And does tennis have a bit of a place for that for you? We know that obviously you spend a lot of time on the court with blokes like Nick and Tanasi. Is tennis almost that safe space for you to vent here and there, to get things off your chest?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Like tennis has always been an outlet for me. Like I don't play anywhere near as much as I probably would like to anymore, but I'm a member at a club and I play when I can. And yeah, it's great to have hobbies and interests outside of whatever it is you do, just to like have a release. Everyone does, and I feel like it's been massive for me in my life. And yeah, like the respect I have for the players and the sport itself is huge. Yeah.
I genuinely think tennis, when it comes to the most mentally challenging sports, I think tennis is most definitely up there.
Oh,
it has to be. More than a lot of even like combat sports, because a lot of that can be done within a 10-15 minute period. Your 5-setters go for upwards, especially the classics. It's
an interesting debate. I mean, I've got a group chat, mates of mine from high school, and it's a raging debate that we have a lot of the time about, what is the most difficult sport. And, a lot of these guys are very sports focused, so that the debate gets very heated. But I saw a statistic the other day. It was like on I can't remember the exact number. I don't want to pull it out and have a look. I could probably find it on my phone. But essentially it was saying like, what's the hardest sport to make a living out of? Yeah. And they were saying tennis was number one on the list, because to make it as a top 100 tennis player, which is where you're making money from the sport and making a decent living, I think you're probably more likely to win Tats Lotto and get struck by lightning on the same afternoon.
You're kidding.
That's how hard it is, yeah. Like it is absolutely insane. Like sometimes, because a lot of my mates play tennis, and you know, I just see them as friends rather than, you know, it's great for me being a tennis fan because I can vicariously like live my tennis dreams through them. But it's very easy to forget, like for example, mates of mine like Nick Kyrgios or Thanasi Kokkinakis, you know. You sit with them, and I have a very close personal friendship with these guys. So it's like I forget that they're, but like talent wise and skill level wise, it's hard to put into words just how like they are like 0.00000000001% of the population in skill level. Like it's almost, it's impossible for me to put into words how difficult it is to be a top 100 tennis player. Like it is genuinely insane. UFC and all those sports, like insanely difficult. Like there's so many sports that are really hard and have a crazy curvature. But if we're talking about just purely making a good living from the sport, I would say being a top 100 tennis player is just about the hardest thing you can do in the world.
Well, you have to fund yourself as well. Like you have to fund on all your plane tickets, all your accommodation, unless you're, I guess, like at the top. But yeah.
What have you learnt from a bloke like Nick Kyrgios? Give us a bit of an insight into what he's like on and off the court.
Oh man,
on a Tuesday afternoon where you're having a casual hit together.
Yeah, well, mate, he's just a ripping guy. Like I think the thing that is frustrating for me as a mate is like, you know, he gets a bad rap sometimes in the media.
I love the bloke.
Yeah, good.
Since ball kid days.
Yeah, well, same. But I didn't know you were a ball kid. Did you ever ball kid any of his matches?
Quite a fair few.
Oh, sick. Yeah, so I can say like very much he is incredibly different off the court, and the way that the media portrays him to be sometimes, you know. He is a very generous, very giving, very kind-hearted person, and he really cares and loves about the people that are in his immediate circle. He would do anything for me, and vice versa. Like I know that, and I can say that, you know, he has genuinely like picked me up from my darkest times in my life. And if it wasn't for him, like, mate, like he is one of the best guys. Like I can genuinely say that.
It's a shame that the media don't portray that side of him as well, because I find that, you know, maybe in recent history there's been a little bit more like recognition, and a lot more like even when he hasn't been playing at the Australian Open, like a lot of people like, damn, like would have loved to have seen him. And even I remember a few years ago when him and Thanasi teamed up for the doubles tournament, that was I think one of my most it could have been the same year Ash Barty also won it. Yeah. So I remember watching her and then watching them tear it up.
I think his public persona and his PR and stuff has definitely increased over time too. Sure. People have started, I think, in terms of what I can see, really embracing him and understanding him a little bit more. Because I think like when he first came onto the scene, like people just couldn't like understand and fathom like how he went about it, because he was like this insane, like generational, like mercurial talent, but then just like doing all this outrageous shit. You know,
just like, unorthodox, which is why I've always bloody loved watching it.
Yeah. But in terms of talent, like the guy is seriously, like I often tell this story, and this is like a crazy story. When I think it was when he played Rafael Nadal in Miami, and I can't remember the exact score line. It might have been like 1-3 or 3-1. He beat him or something like that. But we went out the night before, and it was probably the most I've ever been, like, because I don't really drink, I don't really, like, I'm very clean in terms of my life, but Nick can draw it out of me sometimes. And so we had a huge monstrous night, and about 4:00 in the morning I was like, mate, you know, we should probably wrap it up, like you got to play the world number one tomorrow, Rafa Nadal, he's waiting for you, you know, like you should probably just like let this. And he's like, nah, bro, like, whatever, bro. Like, you can go, bro. Like, you bitch. Like, I'll be fine, bro. And, like, I was paralytic, man. Like, I was shaking in the bed the next day. Like, I was so hungover. And I turned on the TV. It was, like, 5:00 in the afternoon or something. Or I can't remember what time it was. It was late in the afternoon or night. I'd slept all day. Turned on the TV, and he was, like, 6-1, 3-1 up against Nadal. The world number one.
I remember the match, yeah.
Hungover. Like, hungover. Like, I can't put this into words, like how crazy that is. Yeah. And he was dusting him up. And the commentators were like, wow, Nick Kyrgios turned over a new leaf today. Look at this guy. He's like, I don't know what he's done, but he's looking fresh. He's incredible. Like, I was like, if only they knew, you know. And I don't think that the sport of tennis has ever seen talent like that. Like, it is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, to put it into perspective for people listening who might not understand tennis, we're talking about the world number one tennis player, the greatest tennis player on planet Earth, and he chops him with a hangover.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Yeah,
that is a sick story. Yeah.
It's
That's
insane.
unbelievable. I had no idea that.
If that went into his book, you know, and I'm sure one day he'll write an autobiography or something. That it's insane. Like it like I don't know in any other sport like where that, you know. Yeah. Maybe John Jones in UFC, you know, someone who like parties hard and works hard. Like, I mean, but that's like.
It just shows how much of a sport it is off instinct as well sometimes, and just getting out there and just going for it, really. And that leads us into the tennis conversation of, look, we wanted to know, mate, and you can say no, but we wanted to know how you'd feel about giving us a fresh off the bat impression, someone that you've never done before. Yeah. We were wondering, someone like a Carlos Alcaraz.
All right.
How do you feel about giving us a bit of a Carlos?
All right. Well, Carlos is he's similar to Nadal in a lot of ways. He's got probably more of a Spanish twang. So I feel like Carlos, he's always got a smile on his face. He'd be like, well, you know how you are. It's Alcaraz. Try to hit the forehand the buyer. When you grab the buyer, and the forehand, you know, you the star, and it's great to play Danny, you know, because you know, when I try to eat hard my opponent, you know, I take their dreams and hopes I eat, and I just want to try to just beat a 1 hour.
That's insane. How have you never done that before? I think we found the next one right here. So, Tennis Australia, have a listen. This is the next impression.
All I'll say is it's better in person. Yeah. I've seen your impressions on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Oh,
yeah, it's outrageous.
You've never done Carlos before?
I might have done it in my bathroom mirror a couple of times. Like sometimes I do practice if I think I can get a handle on it. Yeah.
Oh, that was natural. Well done. Watch this space.
Listen, before we do finish up, something I did want to ask you before we even get to the sweet spot question is, what's something about you? Because people see all the impressions, they see the comedic side of you, but what is one thing about you that you don't really talk about much, or that people don't see that perhaps you wish they would?
Oh man. I like to think that I wear my heart on my sleeve a fair bit. Like I've like everyone, mate. I've been through a lot in my life, like lots of ups and downs and stuff. And I think I've learnt about myself in recent years that I'm actually probably more resilient than I've given myself credit for. And yeah, like I like to think of myself as like pretty genuine as well. Like I try to be mindful of the fact that, it's just important to be just genuine, because there's a lot of hectic people out there in the world, man.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like I think my goal is to strive and not to be one of them. I'd like to try and be the truest, most purest version of myself. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, mate.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I
worries.
honestly, like, that could be the sweet spot answer, but we're going to have to ask you another one.
Oh, bloody hell.
Last one. But that can honestly do it. But yeah, the closing tradition is there a sweet moment that you think of in the last 6 months that when you think of it, you're like, fuck, that's an elite moment?
Elite moments, like in terms of career stuff?
Career stuff, in your personal life, anything.
I mean, like probably being at Wimbledon, like I got the chance to go to Wimbledon, and actually, again, this is a crazy story, but Novak Djokovic was able to get us, with his management team, got us tickets to centre court, me and my partner. Oh, wow. And like for me, being a tennis fan, Wimbledon is like the holy grail. Like it doesn't get better than Wimbledon, you know? Yeah. And since I was a kid, it was my dream to be there, and to be at Wimbledon, was unbelievable, but to share it with my girlfriend too, like to be in that, I was literally like almost in tears of joy walking around the grounds, because I was like, this is like, as a tennis fan, like people who are tennis fans listening to this, they're going to understand what I'm saying, but if you're not a tennis fan, you don't understand how holy Wimbledon is. It's like it's a church of tennis. So I was walking around and looking at all the history and all the courts, and that for me was like the sweetest moment, because I was like, wow, I'm actually here. Yeah. And I'm with my girlfriend and I'm with my friends, and it's like, wow, what an experience. Get to share it from a personal level, and then also with her. And yeah, like, you know, sitting on centre court next to my girlfriend watching Novak in his box. Doesn't get better than that.
It doesn't, mate. That is an unbelievable sweet spot. You've earned yourself a muffin.
Oh, thanks, mate.
So,
cheers.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Take a few.
Please, muffins.
But on that note, Elliot, what fans of yours, what should they expect to see from you in the next few months?
Look, my goal is just to be more consistent with my content. And I'm just going to post stuff that I feel like posting, basically. Beautiful. If you don't like it, fuck off. I don't really care. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm a comedian, you know, like, I'm a very different person personally, I think, to some of the content I put out. And if you can't draw the distinction between the two, I don't want you in my life.
Absolutely.
Well said, mate.
Where can people find you for those that don't know?
Yeah, it's Elliot _Loney, ELLIOT _LONEY. Jeez, I forgot to spell the surname for a second. That was actually spin out. And yeah, just Elliot Loney across all socials. Pretty easy to find. And yeah, like, I'm just going to be making more content, hopefully grow my following, and just do what makes me happy, man.
Beautiful.
We appreciate you coming on.
Other people happy in the process.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.